Let me ask you a question, Cuffy. At any time during the initial stages of your indictment involving this whole Tammy Commons thing, did you talk to Big Meech or did you send a message to Big Meech in any way to tell him or to alert him of what was going on?
We sent Big Meech certified mail. Big Meech set me up, and Tammy set me up with this thing in 2013.
I just gotta wait to holler at Tammy before, you know what I'm saying, I know where we at with that. And Tammy is a government informant. So when he said that, I was like, Tammy, what you mean, Tammy? Like, nigga, you ain't heard what's going on with her?
Big Meech just got put on full blast, and the receipts? Straight up wild. After 50 Cent came through with some paperwork, low-key suggesting Meech might have been talking to the feds, the internet went crazy. But hold up, where 50 even get this so-called proof from? Word is, he got some old BMF folks in his ear, spilling tea like they trying to make a name for themselves. Now peep this, folks out here whispering, throwing shade, but you ain't heard the real deal yet. Cause Big Meech? Yeah, he ain't rocking with none of that.
Well, did Blue Da Vinci cooperate or no?
Yeah, he cooperated. I mean, I didn't say it. It was in Miss Mara Shalhoub's book, where his own lawyer said, yeah, if there was anything else that we could do, Your Honor, to help you along with this case.
Word on the streets is Meech about to give 50 a front row masterclass on how a real kingpin checks disrespect. And trust, this ain't no little petty back and forth. This is about legacy, about street legend status. Now, here's where it gets real messy. 50 Cent got a history of dropping big money just to air folks out. And when he sinks his teeth in, he doesn't let go. But this time, he might want to ease up, cause Big Meech ain't just some dude off the corner. We talking Demetrius Big Meech Flannery, the mastermind behind the Black Mafia family. His name, ring bells from coast to coast. Now, let me take y'all back real quick to the 1980s.
One night, and then my homeboy that was with me, he was like, Tone Bird, he from BMF too. Tone was like, ask Big Homie what's up with the movie with 50, like what's going on with him from New York. I had to use my New York accent. Yo, what's going on with the 50 Cent movie? So I'm like, oh, yo, Meech, what's up with the movie, with the TV show?
Meech and his little brother re-jumped in the game heavily, flipping $50 bags like it was nothing. By the early 2000s, they had turned that street hustle into a whole nationwide operation, moving weight through Michigan, Georgia, Florida, Cali, Louisiana, and way more spots. That kind of bankroll? Yeah, it had the feds clocking in real quick. So Meech and Terry got creative, came up with a slick front, BMF Entertainment. On paper, it was just a legit promo company, but behind the curtain, that's where the real money moves were happening.
It's believed that Terry White grew up in an Atlanta housing project. But when FBI and GBI agents arrested him last night, he was living here, a sprawling $200,000 mansion in Jonesboro. The 27-year-old was in the process of renovating his home, which features an outdoor swimming pool, a full-length basketball court, and more.
Had a media room where there were 24 TV sets on one wall hooked to a satellite dish, and you could hit a button and all 24 TVs would come on.
Now here's the twist. BMF Entertainment wasn't just some front with no action. They actually had one artist on the roster, Blue Da Vinci. In 2005, he even dropped a whole album called The World Is BMF's. But by October 2003, the feds made their move, ran down on Meech, and swapped out his luxury lifestyle for a prison jumpsuit. And soon as that happened, folks started pointing fingers, mainly at Blue. Why? Because out of everybody in the crew, he looked like the weakest link.
My client would be more than willing to cooperate with you all to help you in this investigation. But now the thing of it is by you admitting what was done, you know what I'm saying, what you done or whatever, but bottom line is, you know, you didn't take the single plea, you went in and...
Plus, let's keep it real. Blue Da Vinci ain't even got scooped up with the rest of the BMF crew when the feds came storming through in 2003. When they got Meech, they threw them cuffs on him and hauled him straight in. But Blue, somehow, some way, he wasn't in that same lineup. Then by 2004, things got even messier. BMF's logistics boss, Dexter Sosa Hussey, started throwing shade at Blue too, making folks side-eye him even harder.
I just gotta wait to holler at Tammy before, you know what I'm saying, I know where we at with that. And Tammy is a government informant. So when he said that, I was like, Tammy? What you mean, Tammy? Like, nigga, you ain't heard what's going on with her?
Sosa wasn't just running his mouth in the streets. He was putting it on record in court. See, Blue pulled up to court with his lawyer, and that's when things got real shady. His own lawyer straight up told the judge, "Your Honor, I did forget to mention something earlier. You asked about which defendants tried to cooperate, and Mr. McKnight, yeah, that's Blue, was one of the people who attempted to work with the government. They debriefed him, but it turns out he didn't really know anything useful about the other defendants."
Was giving them information on that they already had and thought it was cool, but you know, that was part of that. You just confirmed other shit that the other CIs just done told.
And peep this, the lawyer straight up admitted that Blue's debriefing wasn't even some new info. Nah, that went down months before that court appearance. Then, just to stir the pot even more, the lawyer let it slip that Blue had a safety valve session earlier that same week. Now, what's that mean? Basically, Blue was ready to talk, but here's the kicker. He ain't got nothing solid to give up. So yeah, Blue tried to snitch, but the feds weren't even checking for the weak crumbs he was serving. And that's when folks started asking the real question. If Blue ain't have the goods, who gave the feds their inside scoop? And this is where things get crazy. After having his name dragged through the dirt as the snitch, Blue decided it was time to clear his name once and for all. Fast forward to 2023, during an interview with Cap Capone News, he flipped the whole script and put the real informant on blast. That's when the name Tammy Cowens hit the spotlight. So who's Tammy Cowens? She's been tight with Meech, handling business with him since way back in 2008. And when Meech got locked up, she stayed down, keeping in touch, running errands for him, and making sure things moved how they were supposed to while he was behind bars. For whatever reason, Meech was so convinced she was loyal, he handed her the ultimate power, control over his life rights. Yeah, you heard that right. He put it in writing, giving Tammy the authority to tell his story to the world. And that meant she held the golden ticket, the chance to turn Meech's legacy into a straight-up money machine. And best believe, she cashed in. She linked up with 50 Cent and co-produced his hit 2021 show BMF. But here's where things got messy. According to the paperwork Blue leaked, Tammy wasn't just out here locking in TV deals, she was allegedly playing both sides, feeding intel straight to the feds. In those same leaked documents, Tammy is straight up listed as CS1, a confidential source working with the DEA's Atlanta division since way back in 2009. And guess what she gave up? Key info that cracked open a whole money laundering case, leading to the conviction of a heavy hitter named Terry White. And this wasn't a small-time operation. Terry White was deep in the game, but thanks to Tammy running her mouth, they got him locked up. Now, peep this. When Tammy first started snitching, she wasn't even getting paid for it. But after her tip helped the DEA bag Terry White, they started realizing she might be useful down the line. So her handler, a DEA agent named Harsh, decided to put Tammy in for a little payday, a cut of the assets snatched from White's operation. And if you know anything about these kingpins, that haul wasn't no pocket change. We talking cars, cash, cribs, and a whole lot more. But here's the wildest part. Tammy ain't even turning informant because she was broke, scared, or caught up in some mess. Now, the paperwork makes it real clear. She had no criminal record, wasn't in the dope game, wasn't begging for a lighter sentence, and wasn't dodging no charges. Basically, even the feds admitted Tammy was one of the strangest informants they ever dealt with. So why'd she do it? Straight up revenge. Word on the street is Terry White used Tammy to clean his dirty money without her even knowing. And once she found out, oh, she flipped the whole script. She wasn't about to let anybody play her like some pawn in their operation. This wasn't about money. It wasn't about freedom. It was personal. And Tammy was playing for payback. But here's where it gets really confusing. Why did Tammy keep running her mouth even after the feds already locked up Terry White? That's where the pieces really start connecting. But hold up, we'll get to that twist in a second. While all this was unfolding, Big Meech was busy cooking up his own play from behind bars. And trust, this one was bold. Locked up, Meech crossed paths with a cartel heavyweight named Fidel Suarez. Now, this dude wasn't no small-time hustler. He was running a whole trucking operation out in Cali, and best believe the feds had been clocking him for a minute. They had their eyes on him heavily, hitting him with investigations and arrest twice, once in 2005 and again in 2009 for suspected trafficking. But both times, they couldn't make the charges stick. That's when Meech started plotting. He had a wild plan to tap into Suarez's pipeline and keep the product moving even while he was locked up. Meech figured if he could still push weight from his cell, he could keep the money rolling no matter how long his bid was. But there was just one problem. He was locked up tight, meaning he needed somebody on the outside to make the plays. And that's where Tammy slid right into the picture. According to the paperwork, in September 2011, Meech reached out to Tammy, identified as CS1, and asked her to help coordinate a shipment that Suarez would handle. By that time, Suarez and Tammy were already talking. The docs say Suarez first hit up Tammy just to check in and see how much was holding up. But that so-called friendly call? Yeah, it sparked something way bigger. With Tammy now plugged in, Meech made her the middlewoman, connecting Suarez with his longtime homie, Dion Cuffy Gatling, a heavyweight in his own right. Cuffy wasn't no small-time player either. Court records show he ran the Gatling Trafficking Organization, a crew that had the streets of St. Louis flooded with products from 2009 to 2014. Together, Meech, Suarez, and Cuffy were setting up a major pipeline, ready to move serious weight across state lines. But there was just one problem. They had a snake in the garden, and her name, Tammy. The whole time, she was feeding every single move back to the feds. And thanks to Tammy's reports, law enforcement had enough dirt to snatch up Cuffy on March 13, 2014. When the dust settled, Cuffy got hit with 27 years for drug trafficking and using weapons in a deal that led to somebody losing their life. But here's the craziest part. Meech never caught a single charge for orchestrating the whole operation. And now, everybody's asking the same question. How did Meech dodge an indictment when his hands were all over the deal? It's crystal clear the feds knew exactly what was happening, but here's the wild twist. When Tammy got pressed in court, she straight up lied to protect Meech. According to official court documents, during a hearing, Tammy was put on the spot. They asked her about paragraph 8 in the reports, where it clearly stated CS1 told investigators that Demetrius Flannery coordinated substance distribution arrangements between Suarez and Gatling. When they hit her with that question, Tammy didn't even flinch. She straight up said no, and she didn't stop there. When they doubled back and pressed her again, asking if Meech had anything to do with setting up those multi-kilo cocaine deliveries from Suarez to Gatling through her, she shut it down again. She covered for Meech all the way, no hesitation, no slip-ups. But after pulling that stunt, the feds slapped a giant red flag on her name. The feds quickly realized they couldn't trust Tammy anymore. But hold up, it gets even messier. Turns out Tammy wasn't just tangled up in the case, she was getting cozy with one of the DEA agents working the whole investigation.
Now, during the course of this informant relationship, she becomes involved romantically with the supervisory special agent over the task force.
That's Keith Crumb.
So in and of itself, that's going to jeopardize everything that they got going on with respect to the investigation. So she ends up receiving like $200,000 as an informant, where he's the one who signed it off. So now he's maintaining an improper financial relationship with an informant, whom he's also maintaining an improper relationship.
Yeah, you heard that right. She was sleeping with someone on the inside, and that little fling, it ended up compromising the entire case. Tammy was playing a dangerous game, moving like a chess master, working every angle, but eventually, everything started crashing down on her head. By March 2015, the whole situation flipped when Tammy got her hands on a suppression motion filed by Gatling's legal team. And this was a serious problem, because if that motion went through, her identity as the confidential source could be exposed. The moment Tammy realized her name might hit the streets, panic set in hard, and she had good reason to be scared, because Gatling wasn't just any dealer. Gatling wasn't just some street hustler. He had a reputation. Official records show he got convicted for ordering a hit on a man named Theus Howard back in 2010, all because Howard had the nerve to snitch on Gatling's brother and his trafficking business. And if that wasn't enough, Gatling's name was tied to another hit in 2013, this time on a man named Terrence Morgan. Why? Because Gatling found out Morgan was about to start talking to the feds about his drug empire. And just like that, Gatling made sure Morgan didn't live long enough to say a word. So with all that blood on his hands, one thing was crystal clear. If Gatling ever found out Tammy was the one feeding info to the feds, it would have been lights out for her. No question. Tammy was terrified. She ran straight to the feds, begging for protection. But guess what? They straight up ignored her. With nowhere else to turn, Tammy made one last desperate move. She went to see Big Meech himself. But after all those years of loyalty, after putting in work and holding him down, the man she had been riding for, Big Meech, wasn't exactly ready to return the favor. When she pulled up, scared for her life, looking for some kind of help, Meech hit her with a cold dose of reality. All he told her? He didn't want his name tangled up in any of it, straight like that. Meech wasn't about to get his hands dirty, wasn't about to catch heat from Gatling, and he definitely wasn't about to have his name popping up in court papers tied to the mess she created. After that cold-ass meeting, Tammy flipped the whole script. She went into full cleanup mode, doing everything she could to erase Meech's name from the case entirely. And she wasn't moving alone. She even dragged the DEA agent she had been messing with into the chaos, accusing him of being jealous of her bond with Meech. Court records show that Tammy, aka CS1, was so desperate, she straight up threatened to blast out an unsworn affidavit to every single person involved in the case, the lawyers, the judge, everybody. And in that affidavit, she went off. She specifically called out the statements in the wiretap affidavit, the ones that claimed Meech was the mastermind behind the whole deal between Gatling and Suarez. Tammy flat out claimed that Agent Chroma, the same agent she was sleeping with, only threw Meech's name into the mix because he was salty about how close she and Meech were. But even with all her wild moves, none of it really saved her in the end. Once Cuffy got locked up, it didn't take him long to figure out exactly who snitched on him, and when he did, it was game over. Cuffy filed for a Frank's hearing, a move that gave him the legal right to put his accusers on the stand. That meant everybody, from the government agents to the informants, had to face him directly. Tammy's web of lies was unraveling fast, and there was nowhere left to hide. And yeah, that definitely included Tammy. Fast forward to 2024, Blue Da Vinci sat down for yet another interview with Cap Capone, but this time, he wasn't alone. Cuffy himself called in from prison, ready to air it all out. And trust, Cuffy didn't hold back. He straight up said the real reason Meech never got hit with charges was because he played the system like a pro, using third-party cooperation to keep himself clean, even if that meant throwing others under the bus. Like I always say, if you kick it with a known snitch, your name's gonna get dirty too, no matter how solid you claim to be. That's just the way it works in the streets. And for everybody wondering why all this old dirt is suddenly getting dug back up, you can thank 50 Cent for that. The second 50 opened his mouth, the whole internet lit up. Love him or hate him, when 50 talk, the streets pay attention. And to make it even wilder, he ain't done yet. Now he talking about dropping a whole tell-all, exposing every slick move Meech ever pulled. According to 50, this gon' prove once and for all that Meech was playing both sides and working with the feds. So now we gotta ask, is Meech really guilty? Or is this just another one of 50's power moves to push his own agenda? Either way, the street's locked in, and this story ain't nowhere near finished. Let us know what y'all think in the comments. Is Meech really a snitch? Or is 50 just stirring the pot? Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, because trust me, the next drop, it's gonna be even crazier. Catch y'all on the next one.